Well, hello there.
Hello there yourself. Hello, Royce.
Hi.
How are you all doing?
I can't hear you. Hold on. I know why.
I'm delightful.
There
Good.
we are. Now I can hear everybody.
I was counting on you being delightful, Royce.
So is everybody else.
All right.
Well, there's us three.
Yep.
Had said several other people sign up, had three other people sign up in advance. So
I am suffering from a brain cramp. What's the name of that lady in Little Rock? She just joined at the last show. Had a tornado go down the shopping center right behind her store.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Can't remember right off the top of my head.
I keep wanting to say Holly, but I know it's not Holly.
Anyway, we are recording at this point,
Cool.
hoping to get a few more people in who said they were going to be here. Mike Salem was one that was for sure going to be here. So
Who else?
Mike Salem.
Oh, Mike. Okay, good.
Yeah. So give him a minute or two. What's going on in Phoenix, Royce, besides boiling?
Yeah, we're down to 109 today for a high. So
Down to 109. Oh, geez.
hey, we're gonna be in the 90s for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And
That's Polar Express for you.
the good news is the rain finally started. I think everything just moved back a month, so we usually get monsoons in July and we haven't had any rain. So it's weird.
Yeah, that we've had a weird summer too, in that it's been a lot wetter than normal.
And cooler.
Yeah, and cooler. Typically in Utah, from the end of May till mid-September, you can plant anything you want because there's not going to rain. This year we've had rain virtually every week. I can't, there've been very few weeks where we didn't have rain at least once. And I've had several times where I go out to ride my motorcycle or whatever. There's one cloud in the sky. I can see my shadow, but I'm still getting rained on.
Yeah.
It's that one cloud. It's been nuts. I've never seen this much moisture throughout the summer in Utah.
Yeah, and it's been warm enough. Somebody said it was the third warmest July on record, but I would say that might be true in terms of average temperature, but we haven't had the highs.
Yeah, did we even break 100 in July?
I think we did a couple of times, but it wasn't very serious.
Wow.
So, Brad, welcome aboard. Hopefully we'll have a couple more join us. I had, like I say, I had three sign up, and that didn't include Brad. So, but it is 12:03. So
yep, we should get started.
yeah, we should get started. So to everybody, welcome to the August 2023 JEMS management webinar. And Paul, of course, is our management guru. He'll be taking over from here and letting us know what pearls of wisdom there are for us to better manage our enterprises. Take it away, Paul.
I know that some of the headlines for these emails sounded a little mystical, the power of the universe, etc. That was deliberate because we do have a big ally that we often, as managers, as leaders, do not utilize. And that is the concept of reality. One of the biggest challenges in management and leadership is holding people accountable. And the beautiful thing about that process is that if we set things up right, reality holds our people accountable. Therefore, we don't have to do it. It just happens. Well, now, how do we do that? Well, hello, that's the point of today's discussion. So we're going to spend time talking about that. When you set up a system that operates according to the rules of the universe, it works according to the rules of the universe. It's just like the law of gravity. You don't have to discipline your people to get them to follow the law of gravity. They've learned from experience, and attempts to violate that law hold them accountable automatically. And we learn very, very quickly. Little children learn about touching things that are hot very quickly. If they don't listen to you, they try it, reality steps in, and you never have to be the disciplinarian. In fact, in the cases where we do it right, we not only don't have to be the bad guy, we don't have to be the meanie, we can step in and be the hero to help them recover from whatever consequences reality imposed. Okay, so now the discipline is being handled for you, and you get to step in that leader's role of saying, ooh, okay, how do we fix it? Well, I don't know about you, but to me, I'd much rather be the hero than the meanie. It's a lot more fun. But I will go back to the concept that I kind of illustrated last month. People will tend to forgive you for being a jerk if they expect you to be one. And that's part of this whole process. I found that works better for me. I'm more comfortable being a nice guy whenever I can be. So I simply ask for permission to be a jerk when I need to be. And as soon as they give me permission, then of course I have a blank check. I can say anything I want almost and get away with it, right? So that principle remains in effect. The principle of asking the 2 golden questions is also part and parcel of this reality thing. One of the things that holding people accountable, really the first fundamental step of holding people accountable, is to make sure that everybody's clear on what happened and then why it happened. Golden management question number 1 that we talked about last month, please help me understand why X did or did not happen, is simply that first step in discipline. Tell me what happened, right? You're just gathering information at that point. You're also following that principle from Covey and his 7 habits. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. All of these things are very deeply reality-based. Now, one of the things we didn't talk about last month, though I touched on it, I wanted to elaborate this month, is the absolutely imperative final step in asking both of those questions. It's a 2-word imperative. Anybody remember what those 2 words are? Shut up. Okay. Once you've asked the golden management question, especially if it's something that has irritated you, you need to master the art of shutting up after you ask the question. The temptation is to prattle on. Help me understand why you were late again this morning. I mean, haven't we talked about it? I mean, what in the world? All you got to do is set your alarm 15 minutes. See what I'm saying? We get into all kinds of recriminations and elaborations and reminders of discussions we've had before. Can't do that. Ask the question and shut up. That'll do 2 things. It'll keep you from erecting the defenses or causing the other party to erect their defenses. It will also apply pressure, tremendous pressure on the person of whom you have asked that question to answer it. Do not underestimate. In fact, I can't overstate the power of your silence. Help me understand why you're late. Believe me, you give me 60 seconds of silence, they're going to be squirming. They're going to be looking for a hole to crawl into, right? Now, I did break one of my own cardinal rules, but I was kind of shooting from the hip. I used the word you. Please help me understand why you're late. Please help me understand why punctuality continues to be a problem. Would be a better way to ask that question. because it's not accusatory, right? Please help me understand why punctuality was an issue again this morning. And then shut up. Reality in the form of nervous tension and pressure will come to your aid as the leader to enforce the discipline of answering that question. Okay? Now, what happens if they don't answer? They have to. They simply have to. I don't have an answer for you. Okay. I need you to come up with one. How much time do you think it'll take? What do you mean? Can you have an answer by noon? What do you mean? Can I? Okay, now we have a chance to clarify. Now we have a chance to teach. I want you to think about your process in the morning and come back to me with an explanation of why punctuality continues to be an issue. You have opportunities to clarify, you have opportunities for some give and take, but by darn, insist on that answer, okay? It'll be very, very, very powerful. It's much easier to prattle on. It's much easier to rant. Don't let yourself. If you can maintain that discipline, reality will ride in like a knight in shining armor on the white steed and pressure that person to give you an answer. It's entirely possible, and this happens all the time, it's entirely possible that the person with a continued problem doesn't really understand why. So just like in the sales training, when we ask those 4 questions about their emotions and whatnot, you're not only getting clear yourself, you're helping the guest get clear on what it is they're trying to do. And if you've got a staff member with an issue and you ask that question, suddenly they have to get clear so they can answer the question, right? And it's never ceases to amaze me how often a lack of clarity on their part is a big part of the issue. Okay? So that's very, very powerful. And that's an early example of how reality does the work for you if you set it up that way. All right, now I wanted to go into something a little more detailed, but before I do that, another quick check. Do you have your organizational chart in place? Right before this meeting, I was on WhatsApp going back and forth with our general manager. Yes, we've started the organizational chart. Yes, he's put names in all the boxes. Has he written a job description that has been distributed to the players and had them modified by the players, the people actually in those roles? Nope, hasn't yet. Well, it's going to be pretty hard to discipline them and call shortcomings to their attention if that part of the process hasn't been done, right? But when that part of the process has been done, then it's a very simple issue. Help me understand why X hasn't happened. Well, was that up to me? Do you remember this that you helped write? There it is, item number 4. Oh, yeah, I guess that is up to me, isn't it? Reality. Did you have to be a meanie? Did you have to be a jerk? Nope. You simply reminded them of what the 2 of you jointly created. And reality swoops in. They feel, most people strive, it's human nature to strive to please those to whom we answer. We try to please our spouses, we try to please our supervisors, we try to please our clergy members, we try to please anybody to whom we have pledged any kind of fealty. That's human nature, and it will work very, very strongly, so long as everybody's clear that there, at least at one point, was some form of agreement. So an organizational chart with a job description is a very powerful way of reminding people of that emotional obligation, right? And that's very, very powerful. You don't ever have to be the bad guy. if you have that piece of the puzzle in place. If you don't, fix it. Now, the next step, of course, is task lists. Now, a task list, I've had some people ask me, what do you mean? What's the difference between a job description and a task list? Well, a job description in my mind is where, okay, let's say we have a bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper is responsible for what? Accounts payable and accounts receivable, ordering parts, tracking repairs and whether or not those have been received, and making sure that inventory is brought in, is noted, is put into the system, a SKU is created and it's tagged. Let's say those are the major areas of responsibility, or those make up the job description for the bookkeeper, right? Now, each of those should be reduced to a task list. If I'm going to bring a new piece of inventory, it comes in the mail, it comes by FedEx, what happens next? Okay, the FedEx package arrives, it shows up on my desk, right? Then I need to do what? I need to take the item out. I need to make sure it's crossed off the order sheet as being received. I need to make sure it's put into the system so that it shows in the inventory. I need to make sure a SKU is attached to it or created for it. And I need to make sure it's given to whoever puts stuff in the cases, or I put it in the case, whatever that is. So each of those items, those areas of responsibility, has a specific step-by-step process that can be checked off, right? Very, very important. Very, very important. Again, whenever you see a problem, you can't find something that shows up on a bill or whatever, well, now you can go back through the processes and find where the hole is. Where did it fall through the cracks? We had a circumstance very similar to that in my store just last week. There was a fairly expensive piece of jewelry. It was a fancy pink diamond ring, and it went missing. Nobody knew where it was. Well, we didn't have that kind of detail in place, so it was a little bit of a challenge for us to find it. Part of what I was discussing with our general manager in my WhatsApp chat just before this meeting. We got to get those details in place. We found the ring, thank heaven. It was in a bag of bags where it shouldn't have been. And it made it very hard to find it. But if we had those pieces in place, then we simply can backtrack. What part of the process didn't happen? As soon as you find that, then whoever's responsible for that part of the process, you ask that person the golden management question. Help me understand why X happened or didn't happen. Oh, well, I guess I didn't follow. Well, I don't know why it happened. Well, go get your checklist. Let's go over it. Did this get done? Did this get done? Did this? Oh, that didn't get done. That's where the hole was. You don't have to be the bad guy. You're never the bad guy. All you're doing is looking at reality, right? Did this happen? Did this happen? Did this happen? Oh, that didn't happen. How are we going to fix it? Follow the checklist. Absolutely. Okay. See, you never have to be the bad guy. It's just a matter of reality. But you have to have the pieces in place so everybody knows what reality is. Wait a minute. Are you telling me we're defining reality? Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. As the owner of a store or as the general manager of a store, you create the reality that goes on in that store. That business unit is yours. You are the God of that universe, right? And you get to set things up in such a way that that is the reality that everybody's working for. All right? Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. Yep, it sure is. That's why you own the store. That's why you get the big bucks, right? Okay. Now, so you have the detailed task list. You have a plan in place where everybody's getting or has received the tools they need. Once again, not to beat a dead horse, but I'm going back over some things with our new general manager. talking about logistics, talking about some of the, what I would call the operations manager duties. And he said, well, you know, that's really not my forte. I said, I know it's not. We discussed that early on. You're going to wear two hats. You're going to wear the general manager hat and either the sales manager or the operations manager hat. We've all come to an agreement that you're wearing the sales manager hat. Who's going to be your operations manager? Oh, I guess we haven't really filled that box yet, have we? Nope. We need to, don't we? Yep. Who do you want to have do that? Ooh. Can I get back to you on that? Yeah, you're going to have to, because I got to go conduct a webinar. Okay. But there again, I'm his ally in helping him fill a gap in his operation. Is it my operation too? Yes, but it's his store. He's the GM. How do you want to do it? I'm here to help you do that. Which goes right back to one of the first conversations we had about that shift from hiring people to help me to me being there to help them. That's all set up, and it flowed very, very smoothly this morning in dealing with some somewhat sticky logistical issues that we're facing and dealing with in our store. How do you want to handle it, Vic? Oh, I guess I do get to decide that, don't I? Yes, you do. And as soon as he tells me how he wants to handle it, then I get to say, how can I help? There's the shift. All right. All of this, every bit of this is totally reality based. I don't have to be the nasty guy. I don't have to be the enforcer. Reality handles the enforcement for me. Reality handles the discipline for me. Okay. Salespeople on the floor dealing with guests. Does everybody have a standardized way of, okay, let's call it a sales presentation. Does everybody have one? We don't. I'm sorry, I'm guilty. We don't. We have 4 very skilled, very experienced, wonderfully productive people, but we don't have a standard process. And it shows. It shows in a number of ways. Right now, my general manager would be hard pressed to help any staff member who's having a rough month. Because there's no measuring stick. There's no standard. There's no standard greeting. There's no standard opening. There's no standard rapport building. There's no standard demonstrating of capability. There's nothing. Everybody's doing it by themselves in their own way. Fortunately, up to now, it's been reasonably productive as our growth has shown, but we're bumping up against a point where there has to be a standard. Now, we can incorporate everybody's best skills into that standard. That's part of devising it. In fact, we're actually working on that. What are the preparation steps? What do you do before the sale? What do you do when the customer walks in the door? How soon do you greet them? What is there a standard greeting, et cetera, et cetera? We're building that. Now, when the general manager does his monthly goal setting sessions, if somebody has fallen short of their goal or fallen short of what they think they could do, if everything went really, really well, all they have to do is go back and look at the standard steps. Is this happening regularly? Are you making sure that this question gets asked virtually every time? Are you making sure that your greeting contains these 4 elements? It becomes very easy now for the general manager to be the one who's assisting the floor jewelers, the sales manager, who is also the general manager in our case. It becomes very easy for the sales manager to assist the floor jewelers in improving their performance. Doesn't have to be the bad guy. He gets to be the hero. Why? Because he's working on a reality-based system. If you do these steps, then things will go well. And believe me, sales has been studied, tracked, tested a million ways from Sunday. We know what works and what doesn't work. But unless standards are incorporated, you can't find where the leaks are. Now, what floor jeweler is ever going to find a leak in his own process and not want to fill it? Is that possible? Yeah, it's absolutely possible. Happens all the time. Might not have to do with how they deal with guests. It might have to do with how they deal with each other. It might have to do with how they respond to supervision. Might have to do a lot of things. But without the standards in place, it becomes a lot harder to spot the leak in their bucket. Okay? When you have the standards in place, when everybody has bought into the standards, and how do we make sure everybody buys into the standards? We have them help create the standards, right? Then it's easy to go through step by step. Are we doing this? Are we doing this? Are we doing this? Well, Paul, that makes it robotic. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. How do the best actors, either live or on film, sound the most natural? By memorizing their lines first. When they memorize their lines down to the syllable and own it, then they're free to not worry about what they're going to say next or what they're supposed to say next. They're free to flow with whatever happens. And we've all heard the directors, we've all heard the actors in their interviews saying, you know, the best scene in the movie wasn't scripted. It just kind of happened. Unfortunately, the cameras were rolling. Well, exactly. But that's because they knew what was supposed to happen and didn't have to worry about it. They were free to flow. Okay? Your salespeople, your floor jewelers, are in exactly the same position. They are playing a role. They are assisting your guests to buy. There are certain steps that have been shown across products, across industries, across time to help your floor jewelers be more effective at assisting the guests. Are those things happening? If not, goal management question number one, help me understand why this isn't happening. Shut up. Sound like I keep coming back to the same points? Yep. Just like every time you throw something up in the air, it comes back down. Works every time. These are amazingly consistent and powerful, but you have to set it up so you can use it. I mean, imagine, and maybe some of you do this, I hope you don't. Imagine how difficult it is when a sales manager or an owner sits down to do a goal setting session for somebody who didn't even hit their basic goal, their minimum acceptable last month. Tell me what happened. Well, I don't know. I tried hard. If no standards in place, where do you go? Where do you go? Well, I think you need to try harder. Yeah, right. Now let's set a new goal that's even higher than last month. And then you have to crack the whip, and then the staff member leaves discouraged, blah, blah, blah. Set it up so reality can come in and assist you. Set it up, set it up, set it up. We know how to do this, all right? Now, I want to talk about a very, 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 very powerful tool. It's called a bonus. I don't know how many of you love what you do enough that you would do it even if you didn't get paid. Most of us, probably not. Okay? Including me, much as I love you guys, if I wasn't getting paid for this, I don't know how diligent I'd be about it, right? Bonus is why most employees show up to, compensation, pay is why most employees show up to work. Well, what benefit is it to them to strive for excellence, to strive for superior performance? Well, if all you have is a paycheck, then it's the fear of being fired. How bad would most of your people have to be before you'd consider firing them? Pretty big gap, right? Between what you want and what you can no longer tolerate. Huge gap. All right. If you can create something that helps bridge that gap, that hits them in the very reason they came to work in the first place, money. Give them some money. Oh, I hate commission. Commission causes unhealthy competition. It causes backbiting. It causes fighting over the guests. I don't want it. I don't want it. One of the stores I'm looking at buying now, I brought up the concept of bonus, and everybody, the owners, the lady who's going to be the GM in one of the stores, no, don't make us do no. We hate each other. We tried commission before. Wait, I never used the C word. I never said anything about commission. I'm talking about bonus. Everybody's going, well, we pay a bonus. The current owners, we pay a bonus. The lady who's going to be general manager, they pay us a bonus. Oh, really? What's it based on? We had some extra money. We had a good year. They threw them $500 at the end of December because it was a good year. Okay. How does that affect performance in March or June? It doesn't. It's too distant. It's too disconnected. Okay. One of the best bonus programs I've ever seen, and we have mimicked this, I wish I could lay claim to it, but I can't, is a system of paying a bonus that not only encourages individual excellence, but it also rewards the team for team-wide production. How do you do that? Well, very simply, and you might want to take notes, very simply, you create a bonus structure where, based on certain individual goals, they qualify for a percentage of gross profit. What? Yep. Based on individual attainment of a goal, an individual goal, they qualify for a percentage of the gross profit of the store in any given time frame. Now, we set monthly goals, but we pay bonuses quarterly on quarterly performance, giving the opportunity for the staff member to, recuperate from a bad month and still get a decent bonus, right? I was not in favor of that when we first unveiled it. I decided to defer to the people on the firing line, and it has worked out extremely well. Let me give you some more details of the bonus structure that we run. Take notes. You can modify this. We did after we heard of the framework from somebody else. But I've shared this with many people who are extremely good at what they do in our industry, and they sit back and say, wow, that is a very interesting bonus structure. Many of them have adopted it. It has become known as one of the most lucrative and effective bonus structures in the marketplace right now, which is kind of fun. I like to say, I wish I could lay claim to the basics of it. I can't. I learned it from a lady who's running a $7 million store in one of the poorest communities in the country. Their average income is among the lowest in the entire nation. And she's running a single location, $7 million store. Pretty impressive. And her staff, oh boy, they are all over this bonus. There's no backbiting. There's no fighting. They look for ways to assist each other. All right. Now, is that because she's genius? Yep. But she doesn't have to push it. Reality takes over. She set up the system. So here are the criteria. Obviously, the owner knows what the BAM is. We talked about BAM a couple of months ago, right? Bare ass minimum. That's what the store has to do to meet its obligations. But she never talks about BAM. Every month, first week of the month, usually the first couple of days of the month, she sits down and has what amounts to about a 10, maybe 15-minute conversation with each floor jeweler. She has well, I'll get into the details in a minute. They set 3 levels of goals. First one is, what do you think? You know, this is what you did last year, this month. This is what the store did last year, this month. This was your percentage of the overall. What do you think you can do this month? And the staff sets the goal. I'm giving you real quick and dirty here, okay? We'll get into more detail on this in a subsequent session, but what do you think you can do this month? The staff member sets the goal. That becomes their personal BAM. That's the minimum they hope to accomplish during that month. Then she asks another question. There were some circumstances, there were some customers who, or some guests who didn't quite get to where we hoped they would be, and we had something to do with that, right? We messed up here, we messed up there. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't hitting on all 8 cylinders every day with every guest. If everything went perfectly, what do you think you could really do? They pick another number. So the first number is what they call the meets goal. The second number is what they call their stretch goal. They simply split the difference, and that becomes a meets goal. So she has 3 levels of goals: meets, beats, and stretch. If the employee hits their meets goal, they qualify for 0.5% of the gross profit for the entire store. If they hit their beats goal, it's 0.75%. If they hit their stretch goal, it's 1%. Now, if you're running a $7 million store, divided by 12, what's that? Let's say it's 6 million. That's 500,000 a month. Let's say half of that is the gross. If you're running a Keystone, right? You've got 250,000 of gross profit. 0.5% is a meaningful number. 1% is a really meaningful number, right? So these numbers can when we first talked about this, I said, okay, now how are you going to present it to your staff? She was an active coaching client at the time. How do you make it meaningful to them? And I suggested that she ask, would an extra $100 a month be meaningful to you? Yeah. Would an extra $500 a month be meaningful to you? Yeah, that's a car payment. Would an extra $2,500 a month be meaningful to you? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So she would find a threshold at which a dollar amount was meaningful to that floor jeweler. And she would help tie the amount of the bonus that was possible based on the goals they had just set and reduce that to actual dollars. So 1% of gross this month last year would have been X number of dollars. If you get 1% of growth this year with the new things we're doing, you're going to get this much money. And everybody's going, okay. They're bought into it because it means something, right? Now, what if they have to call in another employee? What do we call it? Most people call it a turnover. Decker, I think, calls it a team opportunity. Are they reluctant to do that? They have to split the commission, or excuse me, split the bonus in order for it to count toward goal. Is that a problem? Nope, because making that sale builds the gross. And everybody gets the gross. If I selfishly hoard that transaction and blow it, I've hurt myself as well as the rest of the team. Is anybody else on the team reluctant to come help out? Nope, because if I can help Susie make that transaction happen, the gross profit grows, my individual bonus grows commensurate with that. So it not only encourages and rewards individual performance, It also inspires a tremendous level of teamwork. It's been really, really powerful to watch. And it's working with my staff as well. It's working really well for everybody I've shared it with in the last, oh, how long ago did I learn about that, Jim? It's got to be 6 or 7 years ago now. She's made some very slight modifications to it. We made a few modifications to it. Hers is just monthly. She doesn't do anything like the quarterly thing that we've done. But it's working extremely well. And her staff people, get this. Her staff people look forward to their monthly goal setting sessions. Their monthly performance evaluations are actually anticipated eagerly by the staff members. What happens at the end of the year when she does annual performance reviews? She doesn't. Why do you do an annual performance review when you've done 12 of them throughout the year? You simply do a January goal setting session, right? Everybody knows how the year went. Well, how do you handle raises, Paul? What raises? They're writing their own paycheck. The concept of raises goes out the window. They get paid a base amount to show up and handle non-guest service items. That's what their monthly pay is for. Well, I want a raise for being your bookkeeper. I've been your bookkeeper for 6 years. Can I go find another bookkeeper to do it for what you're getting paid now? Yep. Okay, there's your answer. I pay what the market demands for a given set of logistical duties. Now, did she figure out a bonus structure for her bookkeeper? Yes, she did. It's not tied to sales. I don't remember exactly what it's tied to, but it's entirely separate. The point is, her sales staff never asked for a raise. They don't expect it. They're writing their own paychecks. Now, sometimes they come to her and hold her accountable for the marketing and advertising. Why? Because they want more customers walking through the store ready to buy. So her store is very active with events and promotions, and she's using gift cards. How hard do you think she has to push to get her staff members to hand out gift cards to the restaurant and to the other places they patronize? Not hard at all. In fact, the staff members write their name on the back of the gift card. So when the guest comes in, they're asking for Susie. Susie gave me this $100 gift card. There's a sales opportunity for Susie. Again, reality-based. The concept of handing out a bonus of X number of dollars at the end of the year, yeah, that's cool, but it's not meaningful because it's not tied to performance. It doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't do anything for them, more importantly, right? Now, there are all kinds of other accolades and other different things that you can do that will assist you in taking advantage of reality in terms of recognizing employees. We've talked about the concept there are two kinds of horses, race horses and plow horses, right? Actually, before I go there, let me stop and breathe for a minute. Anybody have any questions to this point? Anybody unclear on anything I've talked about so far?
A couple things. First of all, I like the compensation structure with the more frequent bonuses. Even going to the monthly versus quarterly. Why? Because of the instant gratification.
Yes.
Obviously, that comes along with it. I can affect not just my pay for the quarter, but I can affect my pay for this month. And I like that frequency. It is contingent upon what you've already alluded to, but haven't necessarily specified. You've got to be having those monthly meetings with your floor jewelers to make sure that they have those 3 goals in mind on an individual basis going forward. And then the additional unspoken piece of the puzzle, recognizing that you are a sales organization. And I pound this away with anybody I'm ever working with. Even if you're the only person that's doing any selling for your company, you got a small hole in the wall store and you're the only one, right? You should be having weekly sales training meetings, even if it's just you training yourself. These are parts of the system that Paul's alluding to, that if you don't have that system in place, you don't have any way to evaluate your progress or lack thereof, or determine what to do about it. So those pieces of the puzzle, that weekly sales training, that monthly goal setting meeting, and monthly or quarterly bonus is terrific. The only question I have for you, Paul, is speaking of allowing reality to be the disciplinarian. You know, what happens if challenges become chronic? You know, you ask the golden question, help me understand why X didn't happen, or help me understand why you didn't make it to work in time, or help me understand why punctuality continues to be a challenge for us here. And whatever they come up with for the answer doesn't seem to change their behavior.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna get to that in just a minute.
Great.
Just to fill in, I wanted to illustrate, you brought something up, I wanted to illustrate the power of this particular bonus idea and the flexibility of it. Our staff actually chose the quarterly idea. We allowed them to choose. All right. One of the things was, what if we just have a bad month? What if I was sick, or what if somebody died, or whatever, and I was just racked up and didn't meet my goal? Can I recover the next month? Well, by tracking it and paying it quarterly, yes, you can. I wasn't initially in favor of that because it almost gives them an escape hatch. I'm having a bad month, fine, I'll just bag it. We found that attitudinally it wasn't as bad as I feared it would be, which is another point I want to make, by the way. In all the years of this other lady and in all the months we've been running it, we have never had the beats goals not exceed the store's BAM. We've never been in a position where we had to impose anything that even looked like a quota, because their goals have always exceeded the absolute minimum acceptable, which is a really fun position to be in. Anyway, they chose the quarterly, and then one was because they could recover from a bad month. The other one was because it kind of forced them to live off their base, and then they got a big old chunk every 3 months, which wasn't that remote, that was basically play money, right? So, and when I worked for a big company, they calculated bonus every month, but they paid it quarterly, and it was the same, had the same effect. I loved the idea of getting this great big paycheck every 3 months. And 3 months really isn't that long, especially if the numbers are being tracked. And another thing this facilitates, again, reality, is everybody interested in knowing exactly what their numbers are day to day. You bet they are. So what does that do to motivate the sales manager to have his 10 to 10 meeting every morning? Simply brings out the whiteboard and updates everybody's numbers from yesterday. Woo-hoo! Or dang, we better knuckle under, right? Or knuckle down, not knuckle under, right? So again, reality. Everybody wants to know their numbers because their numbers have meaning and their numbers have an effect on what they're going to experience. They want to know every morning how they're doing. How hard is it to hold a 10 to 10? Not. Reality. Power of the universe, there to assist you. Right? Okay, chronic issues. Chronic issues do come up. Remember golden management question number 2 from last month? Okay, We've had this issue. We've discussed it before. You've explained that this is what happens and this is why it's happening. Problem's still here. So now we've stated everything. Everybody's singing from the same sheet of music. You ask question number 2. If you were me and I was you, how would you handle this? And shut up. I don't know how I'd handle it. I've been trying to figure. I don't know is not acceptable. That's probably the only unacceptable answer. Well, I want you to think on it and get back to me. How much time do you think you'll need? Do not, I repeat, do not offer an answer. Well, I think I ought to suspend you. I think I ought to give you, you can impose all those consequences as they arise, but let them come up with a plan. Make them come up with a plan by refusing to give one yourself. Now, you can offer some ideas if they struggle, if you've given time with a set time to reconvene. Got to have a set time to reconvene. You can't say, well, think about it and get back to me. No. Can you come up with something by noon? Can you come up with something? It's Friday. Can you come up with something by Monday? Okay, cool. I want to see you in my office at 10. Just as we open or whatever. Make them come up with a solution. That's documented visit number 1. And you document what they say. Memorialize it in an email, whatever you have to do. Make sure you have a hard copy with their plan documented. Step 1. If it still persists, which honestly is fairly rare, but happens, we're dealing with a situation in my office right now, my store right now. You have a second meeting, punctuality, let's say. Goal management question number 1. Help me understand why this is still happening. Shut up. Now, the first thing you want to do, I know I've been there. We talked about this. You gave me the plan. This was your suggestion. You were going to do it. You were sure it was going to work. Can't say any of that. Go back to goal management question number 1. You're still having trouble with punctuality. Help me understand why that's still happening. Shut up. After they've given some initial response, then you can pull out the documentation that you created on the last one, right? Then you can add to it, you can clarify, you can do whatever. And now you need to augment the plan. When I say you, I mean you plural. Them first. Okay, what you came to me last time didn't work. Wasn't enough, whatever. I need you to tell me what you're going to do differently to make this happen. That becomes documentation number 2. And you make sure it's documented. You memorialize it in an email to which they have to respond, I got it, I agree, or whatever. You might want to write it out and have them sign it, date it and sign it. Goes in the dreaded personnel file, right? All of these steps are important because guess what? They know what's happening here. You're building the case for dismissing them if this doesn't get fixed, right? They know that. If they don't know that, they'll ask in many cases, why you going to this? Well, because I have to document it. Or I get in trouble when things don't work out between us. Ooh, okay, I get it. Right? And then the third one is you pull out your prior documentation. This hasn't been fixed. You're leaving me very little choice. I need you to tell me why I don't let you go right now. Okay? And if they can't come up with a very good reason, then there's the door. Nobody's irreplaceable. I'm not irreplaceable in my own organization. I'm not. Okay, and that's real harsh. But if you set it up this way, in my experience, you'll very rarely get to that step 3. If they really can't do what they're being called upon to do, they will resign before you ever get to step 3. They'll find something else. Do you both a favor, right? Okay. Does that answer your question, Jim, about chronic issues?
Yeah, that's very helpful. The only thing I would add to it is don't string these kinds of things out for 3 months.
Oh, no. Thank you.
If you got somebody who's not towing the line and you can't get it fixed within a couple of weeks, you're probably not gonna be able to get it fixed, and they need to resign or be shown the door.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of that. I mean, we try real hard to make sure everybody's sitting in the right seat in the bus, but sometimes they're just on the wrong bus.
Good question.
That happens.
Good question.
Kev?
What is your base pay that you're paying them for those 3 months without a bonus check? And did you have an old commission plan in place? If you did people quit because they didn't like the new one?
No, we bought the store just a few years ago, and we implemented this bonus structure as the first performance-based compensation attempt. We have modified it a couple of times based on staff feedback, like going quarterly instead of monthly. The base varies a little bit based on what we had to negotiate to get them. We have a former general manager of a Diamonds Direct store who's extremely skilled. We had to pay her a good bit more than we paid the apprentice goldsmith who was willing to work the sales floor, though he never had before, until we could build up enough business to justify putting him on the bench. See what I'm saying? Big differences between, and they actually came to us at the end of their first year. I want to talk about a raise. The first year on the bonus program, I want to talk about raises. When's my performance appraisal? We just had a performance review. We're going to have another one first of the year. Okay, because I want to talk about a raise. I've given you a raise. Look at your bonus. Oh, that's not a raise, that's a bonus. Yep. It's both. You write your own paycheck. We don't do raises.
Well, for sellers, for example, I know the manager's different, office staff and shop
Yeah,
people.
office staff is a different animal.
But for sellers, I have all of mine at $13 an hour, and they got a very generous commission program. So
Right.
all the sellers make the same thing. Is that what you do, or do you have varying sales?
The base is different, again, based on what they came in with and what we had to pay them to get them to come in. We're looking to standardize that as, going forward. We have to replace people and whatnot. But I see exactly where you're going, and I would love to get to a point where everybody on the sales floor gets exactly the same base. And we will get there. I can't remember. It's more than 13 an hour on average, but it's not a whole ton more than that. So.
Well, one other quick thing then. When we calculate their commission, add the commission to their base, divided by the number of hours they work, our part-timer, for example, is close to the full-timer, just like $26 an hour. Any idea what yours are pulling in?
It's in that neighborhood. What's your annual volume approximately, if you don't mind answering that?
Corporate 3.5.
Yeah, okay, so you're roughly a little more than twice the size we are in terms of volume. So you're paying out a bit more in commissions that way. The reason we decided not to go with commission as opposed to this bonus is that the team building aspect where everybody cooperates. So
I like the idea. Just I'm wondering about the transition if we were to try it. My thought process was, show them you have a choice of going for 1 quarter. We'll do both and track it, see which one you would have made more money on, and see if it'd be worth it for you to change or not. But
that's the direction.
Give them that option.
That's the direction I was going to go with you. And we're out of time in respect for everybody. And Jim said he needed a couple of minutes. So I'm going to turn that to him and let you and I have an individual chat over the next couple of days and talk about how you transition that. Okay. there are ways that are very effective, and you've already hinted you're in the right ballpark. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, yeah, Kevin, that Kenny Rogers beard of yours is looking really good today.
It is, isn't it?
I had to dye it white so that people would think I was more mature than I am and was able to run this thing.
Yeah, you're only 28, right? Yeah.
With my natural hair color, people think I'm mature until I open my mouth. Anyway, go ahead, Jim.
Anyway, what I want to talk about real quick is next in a couple of weeks, we'll have our September marketing meeting, and Kevin and I were talking yesterday, trying to come up with some ideas for some promotional stuff. And quite frankly, Paul's had tremendous success with this gift card program, and he's got about a half a dozen different versions of it. In it's all the same gift card, but he uses it in different ways. And if it's okay with you, Paul, I'd like to kind of just spend the next session talking about how the gift card program works, what the pitfalls are, how you attitudinally you approach it, how your staff has kind of come around to it, because I know they weren't.
Yeah, we had to win them over.
Yeah. So if we could spend next time kind of me interviewing you, or the
Sure.
group interviewing you about the gift card program in particular.
You bet.
One of the things I like about that program is that it's so inexpensive to execute. And
even that you don't pay until after it works.
Exactly. And and this has been, although you've used other marketing programs as well, this has been the single biggest tool that you've used to pentuple your business in a 2.5-year period of time. So,
yep.
So anyway, that's what you guys have to look forward to next time. And I really encourage you to tune in for it, because Paul's been talking about this for years. We've been talking about it for years. There's a certain resistance to it for some reason that we get. And I think we need to address all that stuff. And if you guys come with an open mind, I think it'll be well worth the hour talking about that one marketing program that can have such a big difference in your business.
I can tell you what the biggest fear is as you prepare to meet is, my brother had it. What if they all come in at one time and they all use $100? They gave away 1,000 of them. You're giving away $100,000 worth of merchandise. Oh my God. Never happens.
Right. All right, guys. At any rate, thanks, Paul. Good stuff today, especially that compensation stuff. I know we'll come back and revisit that again, going forward, and there will be alternatives and options that people will want to talk about, and they're legit as well. So good stuff. Appreciate that. We've got the.
Let me say something real quick on that.
Yeah.
Yes, the compensation piece is the shiny attention getting piece. But those other pieces I talked about, which is why I left compensation at the very end, are just as powerful and just as helpful to you. Get them in place.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate your participation. We will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.